Hello and welcome to next lesson of AppPort Academy for Android. My name is Vladimir Valouch and I will take you through today's lesson. This lesson will be about Android debugging. So let's have a look at it, what we are going to do. First, we are going to create a brand new project. So create new project. I'm going to choose basic activity. Basic activity because it contains already some code, which is relatively small, but at the same time, it's more than enough for us to see how to use the debugging functionality in Android. So let me click next and finish. While the project is being set up, I will speak about what we are going to do today. So today we will be looking at how to write a log into console, how to use the Logcat to actually read a log. We will have a look how to run the application in debug mode or how to attach our debugger to the application. We will also have a look at how to set up the breakpoint, what the data are available when we set up the breakpoint and when the application hits the breakpoint. We will also create one own variable, and we will try to play with this variable once the breakpoint was hit. And last but not least, we will have a look at Android Profiler. Just information ahead of time, just the profiler would be definitely worth for playing with for more than 15 minutes. We are going to have just a short overview of it today. So I strongly recommend you to play with it later on as much as possible. Today, we're going to start with the logging, which is the most classic way. In many languages, you can write to console and see what is happening. On the right, we also see our application, which is currently running. If I click next, it's going between the fragments. We will, of course, explain what are the fragments. If I click here, the application's again doing something. I would like to be able to see what is actually happening and what it is happening. The first thing which I will add is something called tag. Tag is one of the input variables that I need to pass into log. It's very good practice to input into the tag the name of the class where from you are going to invoke the log. Let's do log D. I will put there tag and our first log. Let's see if it will let me to just import the log. I will just run it. The worst case scenario, after the run, it will tell me that I'm missing the import, right? And now I can just hit Alt Enter and import it. All right, the very first log is there. And once I start the application, okay, application is up and running, awesome. I can go down here and search for the name Logcat. If I click on a Logcat, I will see a lot of code here. Let's make it simpler. Let's set the log level to debug because we are setting the debug. Information for you, there is a hierarchy. The most amount of the logs goes with the verbose, then debug, then info, warn, and error. If I set up here a debug, I will automatically obtain everything above, which is I will obtain the debug, info, warning, and error. If I will set here just error, I will be obtaining just errors, nothing else, because in hierarchy, there is nothing more than errors. But for now, let's go with the debug. We created our own tag, so let's see if the Logcat actually code. If not, don't be worried. All you usually need to do is just to rerun the application while the Logcat is running. You see everything got removed, it's clean, and wow, now I see our first log. This is the way to be. I will add one more log, and I will put it here on set on click listener. So, and the easiest thing would be to just log this message. FOB is floating action button. And I will rerun the application. Okay, it's getting rebuilt. And again, I should each and every time see exactly once this on first log. And now if I click on FOB, the log will always appear there. Why? This part of the code is being executed each and every time when I click on the button, while this part of the code is being executed only once when the onCreate is being called when we are creating the main activity. That's the first step. That's how you can log and put there as many logs as you wish so that you will really see step by step what is happening in the application. Next step is to add some breakpoint. The breakpoint is the way how to tell to the program where it should stop. How to place the breakpoint, just go with your mouse a little bit right from the line 36 and just click, left click. You will see that there is a breakpoint. How to run the application with the breakpoint? You have two options. The first one, which we are going to choose here, is just run the app as in a debug mode. I will run debug app. What this will do, it will stop the application, rebuild it, and spin it up again and attach the debugger. So as you see, we saw our first log. And now if I click on the button, voila, the whole app, okay, not really whole app, the application stopped. In its execution, you see it's not continuing any longer. And you can see what are the values currently available here. So this is all currently available in the scope. And if you are, for example, worried or wondering what could be the value of the view, this is the classic way how to obtain it. I will run the code now. And actually, I will add one more breakpoint right in front of our very first log. And I will also add one more variable here. It will be var my sample variable. And the initial value which I will give to it is 1. Also, I will log the content of the variable. This is the way how you can do it. Okay, so I will just run the application. By the way, this time I'm running the application in classic way. What will happen? The application will not stop on any of these. Even if I click, the application is not being stopped, but I see that there is 1. So it's working. Let's rerun it with the debug mode. What you should expect is that your code execution should stop on this log. Okay, and it stopped, and voila, I see what is content of my variable. You know what I can do? I can just right-click on the variable and run the evaluate of the expression. What this allows me is just to hit Control-Enter to see actually the value. But I can even directly here play with the value a little bit more. This might be very useful if you know that you would like to test out what could be different setup or how the application would behave or how your algorithm would behave if you have that given value. Or if you are not sure and you would like to really just experiment, this is really one of the best ways. Another thing, what is possible while the world of the application is stopped, you can right click and even set the value. So you see in our code, which was compiled and it is running in the emulator, there is one. But guess what? I will just change it to free. And I will just run it further. And if I check the Logcat, wow, there is actually 3 instead of the expected 1. Thus, the debugging is really powerful tool. Another thing which I would like to show you is stepping through your code. I do not need to do pretty much anything right now because the code is already running in a debug. All what I will do is I will click on the floating action button right here. Let's make it a bit bigger. We'll click here and the code stopped here. What I can do, I can click here, resume program, which means that everything will be run automatically further. But I can also use this functionality for step over, step into. Step into means that, for example, if on this given line there is a function and you click step into, it will go directly into the function so that you can really go step by step. If I click step over, at a minimum, what I should right now see in the log is fab on click. That's exactly what I wanted to see. And if I go back to the debug and run the program, it should appear in the classic way. Okay, I have promised to show you one more way how to play with the debugger. There is actually one more way. Right now, your application is running in classic mode, but you can always attach a debugger. How to do that? There is actually a button for that. Attach debugger to Android process. You just click, you choose your application, and voila, you are attached. So again, if I click on the fab, the application got paused, and we are where we were again. You have multiple ways how to disable the breakpoints. One of them is to just unclick them. That's one. And the other one is to mute them temporarily. I can do this, run the application. And even if I will click, it won't happen anymore. Okay, the debugger. Because it's muted, and if anything nothing will happen. If I unmute it again, and if I click, it will get paused. We'll run it, mute it. Once it's muted, it's usually gray. That's about the breakpoints and debugging. Last but not least is the profiler. So let's go for the profiler. You can find the button to run it at the bottom. It's called profiler, or if it's not there, usually just go for the view, tools and windows, and here you will find the profiler. What the profiler does is that it's actually telling you everything about hardware and resource usage from the perspective of the phone. As you can see, I click session plus, and I attached to my application running. Here I see how much CPU is being used, which activity is currently running, how much memory is actually being used, and what is the energy consumption. I can be clicking on the application. You see that the application might get a bit slower, but that's absolutely perfect because the profiling itself is relatively expensive, but and it will still give you very useful information about when the CPU or your resource usage is happening. By the way, it's also showing when you are tapping the screen. That's all from me for today. If you will have any questions about Android debugging, feel free to reach to us on our Slack channel. Have a great day. Bye.